Hi everyone, thanks for checking in. It's Adam Coburn here at Low & Co Realty, and today we're looking at the Wellington real estate marketplace for the month of June 2023, comparing it to the last couple of years. Look, and folks, it's an exciting time, folks. Wellington has returned to a seller's market. It's official, you heard it here first. According to at least one metric, we are back in a seller's market, so great news for vendors. I've been saying for some months now, buyers get amongst it, don't wait for things to get better. This is just more evidence that we are out of the trough into a recovering marketplace now, especially in the city where this has happened earliest. My message to buyers continues to be, don't wait for things to get better. Let's look at the detail then, starting with the median sale price. 765,000 in June versus 848 June 2022, down 10% over the last 12 months. 10% is obviously still a significant drop, but we've been seeing over the last sort of approaching 12 months now, that drop has gone from sort of over 20% drop 12 months ago to now just 10%. So the annual drop we've seen consistently falling recently. And in particular, you look at the graph there, the shape of the graph, the blue bar chart in particular, we've been hovering around kind of high 700s, 800, very early 800s since July 2022. So it's been broadly kind of stable-ish since about July 2022. If you follow these videos and my commentaries, you'll know that I don't pay too much attention to the median sale price. It does tend to be reflective not just of underlying values, but also the mix of properties sold during that month. The better indicator by far is the Real Estate Institute House Price Index. So let's have a look at that now. And here's the league tables for the whole of New Zealand. And if you look at the far right column there, as I've indicated, Wellington marketplace has fallen by 25% since the peak of the market in late 2021. New Zealand overall fallen 17.7 and Auckland 22.5. So Wellington has still fallen further than anywhere else, but the other parts of the country are now catching up. We've been pretty stable there at about the 25% mark for several months now as Wellington has stabilised. The rest of the country is still moving downwards, and so the league tables are showing a closing gap in that regard. And this is further evidence if you look at the 1 year result there. Wellington marketplace fallen just over 10% in the last year versus just over 10% in Auckland also, and 9%, so not far off 10% for the whole country. So the drops in the last 12 months, whilst since the peak Wellington's fallen furthest, in the last 12 months the drop in Wellington values is very, very comparable to the country overall. Focusing now on the 3-month result, you'll see that the Wellington market fallen just by 0.3%, probably statistically not significant. In other words, it's been basically level. It's been stable over the last 3 months, whereas New Zealand's fallen more than 1% and Auckland nearly 1%. So the Wellington marketplace, this is more evidence, more data to support the claim that the Wellington market has troughed. It is now beyond the trough and is now entering a recovery mode. So you can see there, looking at that graph there of the 1 month results and the 3 month results for the house price index for Wellington region, the orange line showing the 3 month result there has basically returned back to zero. What that's saying is over the last 3 months, we have seen no fall whatsoever. Now, obviously, 1 month doesn't make a trend, but you can see over the last 15 months or so, since about June of 2022, a year ago now, we've recovered from kind of a 10% reduction in value in just 3 months, right back consistently up to parity over 3 months, no fall whatsoever. If you look now at the house price index, breaking it down into the different territorial authorities in the Wellington region, and look at the Wellington city results compared to the other territorial authorities, that being Lower Hutt, Upper Hutt and Pororua City, you can see there that Wellington City over the last year has fallen just under 7%, whereas the other regions in Wellington have been falling well over 10%. And the last 3 months, Wellington City has seen growth. And the other parts of Wellington region have not been growing as much, have been falling a bit. And so further evidence, as I say, Wellington region hit the trough first and is now sort of through the trough and starting to recover. And within Wellington region, Wellington City again hit the trough first and has started to recover earliest as well. Moving on now to number of new listings. 354 in June 2023 versus 529 a year ago and 547 2 years ago. So we are down about a third compared to the last compared to 12 months ago and compared to 24 months ago. So new listings are still absolutely being strangled. The market is being suffocated of new stock. And you can see there that the average for June over the last 7 years or so has been about 540. So June 2022 and June 2021 that we're comparing the most recent June to have been pretty typical at 529 and 547. June 2023 massively down, 33% down at 354, and that's been a consistent theme we've been seeing since about September last year, where we have seen new listings down anywhere between about 25 and 45% compared to 12 months previously. So, and in the next graph, you can see that quite clearly, the blue bar chart below the x-axis indicating that the number of new listings coming to market is fewer than what we saw 12 months prior. And that has been a consistent story since September of last year. So the message is, since September of last year, vendors have gone on strike. They are just not bringing their properties to the market. A significant reduction in new stock. Very frustrating for purchasers out there. And in the next graph, you'll see we're seeing the number of sales recovering strongly. So buyers out there are getting the message. Interest rates look to have peaked. Inflation looks to be coming down now. The number of new listings coming to the market is strangled, is suffocated. So there's very little to choose from, and buyers who are committed to buying, who do have the money, are now having to compete again for these listings. And in spite of the fact that the number of new listings coming to the market is significantly down, the number of deals getting done is increasing and heading back to normal. So 606 new sales made in June 2023 versus 460 a year ago, 718 2 years ago. So up 32% compared to a year ago, down slightly compared to 2 years ago. That was absolutely the peak of the market, sort of June 2021. So we're comparing it to absolute boom times then. And as you can see there, the June average of 684, at 606, we're still down compared to what's normal, but not down by nearly as much as we've seen in recent time, in the last year or so. So these numbers are recovering in spite of the fact that the number of properties coming to the market is significantly down. And you can see that there in the next graph. Look at those. Look at that blue bar chart again. The last 2 months significantly up above the x-axis, which indicates a major increase in the number of deals getting done compared to 12 months ago. So compared to 12 months ago, much more deals getting done, despite the fact that far fewer properties are coming to the market. And the balance of those two striking out, again, is consistent with the theme. Wellington has passed the trough. Buyers are having to compete for properties again. We're now starting to recover. So how long is it taking to sell? It's still taking a wee while, 51 days, longer than is typically the case in the long-term average. Over the last 4 months or so, we've been bouncing around 50, so it's been stable. We're past the peaks of over 60 days that we saw earlier in the year, but we haven't yet seen this metric coming down. So it is still, overall, it is still taking a wee while to sell property in Wellington. In terms of the inventory, and this is a big news story really, folks, back down to 10 weeks worth of supply in the market versus 20 weeks. That's half of what we saw a year ago, still double what we saw 2 years ago, but as we talked about before, that was in the absolute peak of the market when we were in absolute boom times. And here's the big thing, 10 weeks is less than the long-term average for Wellington Marketplace. Long-term average for Wellington Marketplace, about 14 weeks. So at 10 weeks worth of supply, we are technically therefore in a seller's market again. We've got less supply in terms of the number of weeks worth of demand than is typically the case. So this is favouring the vendors. So at least by this one metric, we are back in a seller's market, folks. So that's really great news for the vendors out there. And again, consistent with the overall message. Wellington market is troughed. We're through the trough. We're now entering recovery phase. How many listings are we seeing on Trade Me? 1,946 as of yesterday, as of the date of recording this, versus 2,645 a year ago and 1,053 2 years ago. So 26% down compared to 12 months ago. And again, you look at the shape of that blue bar chart, a significant reduction in the number of Trade Me listings over the last 4 months or so, compared to what we saw was a reasonably stable sort of listing volumes with seasonal variations for about a year, from about March to March 2023. And the next graph makes that really, really clear. You can see we boomed in terms of the number of listings coming to market as people put their properties on the market and buyers went on strike, and the number of deals getting done really plummeted whilst listings continued to come to the market and things really swelled. We got up to about 160% increase in the number of listings on Trade Me compared to 12 months prior, way back in June of 2022, so a year ago. Since then, it has really come down. And over the last 4 months, we've consistently seen fewer listings on Trade Me than 12 months previously, and the degree to which it was falling compared to 12 months ago was increasing, and most recently 26% fewer than a year ago. So folks, in summary, Wellington values are stable across the region and have been recovering in Wellington City. New listing volumes have been consistently low. The market is really starved of new listings, and so if you are a vendor out there thinking of selling, now is actually not a bad time at all. I would encourage you to consider thinking about bringing it on now. They've been consistently low since September 2022. Sales volumes have been recovering and particularly strong for the last 2 months in May and June. Duration to sell is still quite long, but stable and certainly down on recent peaks that we saw earlier in the year. Inventory is now below normal at 10 weeks, and so technically that would say we're in a seller's market according to that metric. Trade Me listings, 26% lower than a year ago. Wellington values definitely are showing a gradually firming market. We certainly appear to be in recovery phase. Buyers take advantage of these opportunities, these conditions while they last. They are not looking likely to get any better. If you want any advice in particular or appraisal on your property, any advice on your situation, please get in touch. Adam here at Low & Co. Thanks for checking in. See you next time.